The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Hello, I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we welcome you to Winning in Retirement. Today I have with me Jeff Akers, Vice President of Akers Financial and a certified financial planner practitioner that's been working with me for around 21 years so far. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Brian. 20 years. It seems like a long time, but we have known each other a lot longer than that.
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime, Jeff, since you were born. Yes, I am older than Jeff, and that makes me the president of Akers Financial Group because I'm older than Jeff. No, actually, I had childhood dreams of being a financial advisor, and there's many things that sort of drive you in life, and today's topic is one of those things that just drives us in life, you know. So today's topic is going to be called Charitable Giving the Right Way. Charitable giving the right way begins with a desire in your heart to give. This desire to have an impact on the world around us. Giving is a byproduct of experiences in your life and throughout your life. The show we're going to do today for you is about taking this passion for giving and using the tools to be able to give the right way. All right, Jeff, when it comes to giving, where does it all start?
Well, you kind of said it. It starts with your heart. Jesus actually said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So where your heart is, that's where you want to send and give and just support those kinds of things. It might be church. It doesn't necessarily have to be religious, though. It could be any number of things. I know a fairly popular charity is something like St. Jude's or the Shriners because people love giving to better the lives of children. But for me, personally, it comes down to God has said, give. He actually said back in the Old Testament to bring the whole tithe into the storehouse that there may be food in my house. And then he says, test me in this and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. The idea there is when we give, we allow time, assets, whatever it is to flow through us into those things that are helping other people. We give to others, that it's going to come back to us. Years ago, there was a movie called Pay It Forward, and it's just kind of that idea. When you pay it forward, you give to something good and noble, and it's going to help someone else, you end up being given in return. You end up receiving in return. So it's just a good starting point, but I really think it starts in your heart, with your heart.
Yeah, I believe that it begins with the very first dollar that you make. That first dollar, you need to give it back. Now, I believe that people should tithe and give back to God that portion of everything they make, and that begins as part of this process. But when you're thinking about your charitable giving, there are some things that we want to try to cover here, and that is this. How does it start? Well, it starts heartfelt giving is one thing. Second is God-instructed giving. Third is a passion for a certain charity. Also, a reason for giving might be building a legacy, like a scholarship fund for generations. And then the last piece might be a willingness to help people out. Now, Jeff, we've worked with many people throughout our careers. Have you had a case where you really felt that it was extremely important that the giving was for this couple that you worked with?
Well, yes, there's a one couple in particular. I'd mentioned St. Jude's before. But they just have a heart for children and helping children who are sick. And so they like to give to St. Jude's and Shriners and charities like that are doing something to better the lives of those kids. They would watch Danny Thomas and the telethons years ago and everything. But now they've accumulated some assets and they're able to give that to those kinds of charities. There was another couple that they just have a heart for folks that were in the military that might be wounded, and so they like to give to the Wounded Warrior Project. That's one of the things on their list. Folks have all kinds of things that might be important to them and that they want to support, and it's good to pick out the ones that are important to you and then give to those things. There are some folks that there's one thing that they're just laser focused on one thing. And so they might only want to give to one or two charities that support that. Other folks are a little broader. Anytime they get something in the mail that says, please help, they're like, oh, I want to help that. And so they'll end up with a long list of charities that they want to donate to. Either way is fine. It comes down to your heart. What is it that you want to support?
All right, so our show is called Winning in Retirement. Part of that, when it comes to winning in retirement, is you need to have purpose for your money. When your money has purpose, then you really get motivated to save and to grow and to do many things. Retirement is something we all need to plan for and save for. But also, as we earn our money each and every day, we need to think about giving of our money and also need to think about giving of our legacy, of our money when we're done with it. We need to think about our plan. We need to make sure that we're doing charitable giving the right way. The reason we want to bring this topic up is that the tax laws have changed over the last couple of years. There's the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2018. And for many of you listening, what happened was we stopped being able to do itemized deductions, and now we're doing a standard deduction. Now, what does that mean, Jeff?
Well, the standard deduction went up a lot. And so a lot of times if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have interest that you can itemize for your deductions, and you might not give enough in donations to meet that standard deduction. So I was talking before about the couple that like to give to charities that support kids. Well, they turned 70 and a half. They had to start taking money out. By the way, that age has changed now, but at the time it was 70 and a half, and they had to take money out of their IRAs, which would be taxable. So even though they were going to take the standard deduction, we could use a qualified charitable distribution to send money to charities, and that way they did receive a tax benefit for it. Now that's just one simple way. We're going to get into a lot of other ways to meet the tax law and get the tax advantage for that giving as we go through the show. But in this case, that was just one simple thing that we could do. Once you turn 70 and a half and you have to take money out of IRAs and you want to give to charities, just give directly from your IRA, because then it doesn't show up as taxable income for you. That's part of giving the right way.
Now, what happens is on your tax returns, itemizing is where on a Schedule A, you're able to break out different expenses. Those expenses have been greatly limited, such as the SALT deduction. The state and local income tax is limited to $10,000. These changes in the tax law have actually created where our charity, it might not be deductible when it comes to your actual tax return anymore. And so what we're recommending or what we're looking at is other ways of giving so that you can get a deduction or basically create the availability to save money in some form or fashion when it comes to your taxes. All right, so today's topic is charitable giving the right way. The standard deduction versus itemized deduction. What you'll find on your tax return is if you use a standard deduction, you can actually take, was it $150 or $300 a person, I think, Jeff?
It was $300.
Is that for joint?
On married filing jointly, I saw $300.
Right, so $300 is where if you track your charity, or if you didn't tell your accountant this year, there's an extra deduction on your taxes for up to $300. So that's just something you got to make sure you put on your tax return, that whatever you gave, keep a receipt for all of that. Make sure you have that deduction. And that deduction is like above the itemized, above the standard deduction line, which is a nice way to be able to take a deduction for at least some of the gifts that you are giving. All right, so this first thing is talking about when we're giving, what motivates us. Now, Jeff was bringing up a verse from the Bible about where your treasure is, there your heart be also. Now, it's always true when it comes to treasure and greed and things that motivate you. What you might find is some different stories of people that you think about. Like there's some great football players here in Baltimore that they put money into charities once they get their career established, and they do incredible work around Baltimore City. That's a perfect example of taking the money that they were blessed with to be able to use their heart for the kids of Baltimore City and to be able to help them with having football or sports or, just even having uniforms. Those are all incredible things that can be done. the thing is this: if you want to try to accomplish this, you need to plan it out. This just isn't something that you just write a check for. You need to think it through and make sure you're doing it the right way. So this show is going to cover a lot of that, but it all starts with this heart. Now, Jeff, what's your personal way of giving? Like, do you enjoy giving monthly, weekly? How do you like to do it?
Well, I get a paycheck every couple of weeks, and so whenever I get the paycheck, I look at how much I made, and personally, I use the gross number, and I'll just take 10% of that, and I'll say, okay, that's what I'm going to give this time, and I'll have my charities, and I'll send that directly to charities. That's the bringing the whole tithe is just doing that 10%. And I just do it as the money comes in, because if I wait, for myself anyway, you wait a few different paychecks, then you end up with a big number that I wanted to give, and now I've spent the money other places. So that's where that first dollar comes in. I give first, and then I've got plenty to pay the rest of the bills after that.
Right, so you actually have a plan before the paycheck arrives to give. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I have to have a plan, otherwise it won't happen.
Absolutely. So if you have a heart for giving, you need to have a plan on how you're going to do it. Where's it going to go? Is the charity you might like, is it a charity that has been audited and reviewed to provide money to actually used by the charity itself? We do need to check out our charities to make sure that there is money being used properly. These are all aspects of charitable giving. So we're starting today about why you're giving, about, just the concept of what motivates you to give. Now, sometimes that motivation might be driven by your religious beliefs. Sometimes it's driven by your heart. It's driven by things that have happened in your life that motivates you to be sensitive towards certain aspects. We want you to know that we want to support you and help you in any way when it comes to how do you give. We can give you information on how to do it and how to improve it. At Acres Financial Group, we're local, we're independent. We don't report to a big company on Wall Street. We report to you. We do have offices in Lutherville and Forest Hill, and we meet people all around Maryland and around the country through different ways. This talk is about you and your retirement, not about us. To begin winning in retirement and accomplishing all the goals your family has, give us a call at Acres Financial Group to schedule your free meeting with one of our team of advisors. Call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, you can leave a voice message, and Susan will call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, virtual Zoom, or in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Call 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. We have a story about a client giving it all away and how we help them to do exactly that. We'll share that story in the second quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back. I'm Brian Akers, Certified Financial Planner, Practitioner from Akers Financial Group. And today we have with me Jeff Akers, also a Certified Financial Planner, Practitioner. And we work with Akers Financial Group, a local firm here in Maryland. We do have offices in Lutherville and Forest Hill, but we serve clients throughout Maryland and throughout many, many different states and around the world. We look forward to working with you. Today's topic is a pretty good one and really means a lot to us. This topic is called Charitable Giving the Right Way. Charitable giving the right way begins with a desire in your heart to give, this desire to have an impact on the world around us. Giving is a byproduct of experiences in your life. The show today is about taking this passion for giving and giving you the tools to give the right way. Now we're into this second quarter of our show. Jeff, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. And when you did the tease, you said you had a story about a client that wanted to give it all away and what we did to help them. And this was a very nice man that we met many years ago. So tell us that story.
All right. Oh, this is one of those stories where once in a while I get choked up telling it because it's just a really amazing thing I had opportunity to do as a financial advisor. So what happened was in our office in Lutherville, a guy came in. He's probably later 70s, almost 80 years old. And he sat down and he goes, well, Brian, I want you to help me give all my money away. And I never heard anybody ask me that before, but I said, well, what is your goal with that? Like, he goes, well, I want you to calculate what my wife and I need for retirement for the rest of our life. And then whatever else you don't think we need, we want to give it all away now. And I'm like, okay, I said, I've never had this question when it came to this type of planning, but I look forward to working through this with you. And so we began a process of retirement planning first to see what they needed, what kind of care they'll need, what kind of facilities and things like that we need over time. Now, I guess with a couple, the wife was a little bit older and the husband was, let's say 80, as an example. And so the idea was we wanted to calculate life expectancy and just try to figure out how much money they need and where would money come from and how would it work. Now, they had worked very hard their whole life and they've saved a lot of money. And they've had a lot of passions when it came to charities. And so some of the first things that we worked on was sort of the first step. It was retirement planning, make sure we had enough. And then, of course, for me, I sort of overestimated that, make sure they didn't give it all away and had it run out of money. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to make sure things were good. So we started out with just basics of where their money is. Now, when people have money saved, they have IRA, retirement money. That's money that's all pre-taxed. And if we pull it out, it's taxable on the way out. There's also money in Roth. Now, this client did not have a Roth when we first met, but that's something that we talked about. And then they had money in personal accounts like trust. They end up being instead of joint, they held it as a trust, which means it's taxable all the time. And then they had some money in tax-free bonds. And that was sort of how they managed money at the time. Now, they didn't have any children to give money to, so that was one thing that was important in the planning, is that there wasn't a generational planning had to be done. They had a family to give to, but they did not have the direct lineage where, you want to give your kids a certain amount of money. I've had some cases where we give the kids a certain dollar amount and then give the rest away to charity, but in this case, they're working on giving it all away. So the first thing we did was to benefit what was going on their tax return, their current year. And we looked at a lot of ways of giving, and we set up endowment funds at 3 universities. These universities were funds that would help students there that were working towards the ministry. And so what happened is each of these universities, we contacted them. We worked with them to design a specialized fund. The fund was not going to use my client's name. They never wanted that. Some people do, which is okay. But in this case, they wanted to use another kind of name for the fund. And it would give scholarships beyond their years to people that are pursuing and growing and going. So we began with the concept of giving money to basically universities, and we gave to 3 different universities. We set up these funds. Now, when you do that, you get a charitable deduction for the full amount you give. So you can imagine that on the tax law, you got to look at your return and you look at your income, and you're only allowed to deduct a certain portion of your income when it comes to charity. It was 50% back then. Now I think the 2018 tax rule allows you to deduct 60% of your income against charity.
So what do you do if you gave more than what you're allowed to deduct in a current year?
Thankfully, we are able to carry forward your charitable deduction. You carry that into the future to take against future income. And so as a way of planning, we could say, well, your retirement money, we can start doing things such as Roth conversion, and 60 or 50% back then, 50% of that we could wipe away with charitable giving. So we're able to take more and more of that charitable deduction. Now, the weird thing is that when you have maybe a finite lifespan, and you got a large charitable deduction you can't use, you're almost trying to create more income so that you can then use it with the charitable deduction. And so we were playing that game with the tax brackets. And so what we're able to do in this exact case is we're able to do some Roth conversion, which became the whole family money. And we divided that money out, invested that for the Roth to give away, some to the family. There was a certain portion that they had set a goal for. So we started out by doing this kind of an account. We had other IRAs, and so what we did is talked about the IRA Back 10 years ago, the QCD Jeff mentioned earlier, the Qualified Charitable Distribution, it was a rule that came and went. One year it came on December 15th. You could use it. You had 15 days. So it was never a permanent law until recently in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act 2018. It made it more permanent, and it's more of a planning tool all the time now. But we gave some QCD money, where part of his RMD went to charity, right to these same funds, filling it up, and then some other charities. We also divided the charities out, and not the charities out. I mean the IRAs out, and gave it to certain charities when they passed away. The husband or the wife would pass away, would go to a charity. So we named the charity. Under the Secure Act of 2020, you do not want to have a beneficiary split with a charity and a person. It really throws off the choices of the person. If you have IRAs and you want to give the charity, the reason we give IRAs to charity, we like the tax deferred to become tax free. By going to charity, no one pays tax on it. What I was trying to say about the Secure Act, though, if you have a charity as a beneficiary and, let's say, a kid, what will happen is that kid will have to take that money out all at one time, and they would not get all the advantages of taking that money out over a 10-year period. So make sure you understand all the different rules. So what we do now is we have the charity with an account all by itself. We separate the accounts, so we separate the beneficiaries. So as we're talking about this, we wanted to design a lot of ways of being able to give money whenever they're alive. And that was the idea with the IRAs and the Roth, was planning that for now and for later.
Right. So when you were talking about the conversion, that they had that number set in mind that they wanted to give to their family, so they were going to make that tax-free to their family. So that was nice. And they were getting a charitable deduction for the money that they gave, that they were carrying forward, that charitable deduction that they could take over time. So that worked out pretty nice. Then beneficiaries for the IRAs, that way that money never gets taxed because it goes straight to a charity. And so that eliminates the income tax that has to be paid on it. What else happened when they passed away?
Right. So in planning, we did, for now, trying to get a tax deduction, give what we could, and then we did our calculations on how much they needed to live off of, and then we ran our plan for a couple of years, and then sadly the wife passed away, and it was just the husband by himself, and he goes, "Brian, we need to calculate again. I don't need much money, so let's do another round of giving." We also worked on the estate plan, making sure it flowed everywhere we wanted, and he had a list of other things he wanted to give towards the end. One of the things that he did, which was amazing, is that he set up the beneficiaries to go different ways, but then he also put some more charities there. He listed the rescue missions in Baltimore. There's three of them, and what happened was we got to deliver checks to these mission group, these rescue missions in Baltimore City. It was wonderful to have a tour and then surprise them with a check. That was one of the highlights of my life when it came to being able to follow through on this gentleman's wishes, was to be able to give those checks out. The third step that I forgot to mention is the fact that when he was by himself and we're looking at ways to guaranteed income for life, we use a concept called a charitable gift annuity. A charitable gift annuity is you give a certain amount of money to a charity, like a university or some larger charity, and what they do is they then will pay you a check quarterly for as long as you live. And if you're around 80 years old or older, it's a very high number. It's a way of getting more income from your investment, and they have the guarantee of this large company, large university. They make this payment as long as he lived, and then when he passed away, it went to the actual charity. So that was a charitable gift annuity, became a way to do things.
So that worked out nicely because he was able to get another tax deduction on the gift, because ultimately it was going to go to the charity, but at the same time he would receive income from it to support him for as long as he lived. So that sounds like a really neat tool.
Absolutely. You get a partial deduction based on the age and the remainderment. There's a little complicated calculations, but it worked out very well for them. I did get to see him the day that he passed away, and I went to visit, and he motioned for me to get closer, and he basically just said, "Brian, follow through with our plan." And I said, "I will, sir." It was just a really cool moment. You work with them for a number of years, getting the plan ready and then working it out, and then following it through after he passed away with his family and making sure these wishes were taken care of. It puts a place in your heart for a lifetime about the heart of giving, the heart of being able to do this. Now, at Acres Financial Group, we want people to know that financial planning is about taking your goals and what's going on in your life and making it work. Charitable giving is a part of a solid retirement plan, and it's going to be different for everybody. You have a unique financial fingerprint, but when you work with a financial advisor on charitable giving, you'll learn ways to give the right way, to pick where that money is going to come from. These are all things that are done best with a financial planner. What you need to do is give us a call at Acres Financial Group. Call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and Susan will call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, virtual Zoom, or an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning now for your retirement. Call 833-946-7384 or visit our website at acresfinancialgroup.com. Charity is an act of love. Wouldn't you love to know more ways to give? We will explain in the second half of our show.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to the second half of Winning in Retirement. I'm the host today, Brian Akers. Here with me is Jeff Akers. We're certified financial planner practitioners from Acres Financial Group. Today's show is called Charitable Giving the Right Way. Charitable giving the right way begins with a desire in your heart to give. This desire to have an impact on the world around us. Giving is a byproduct of experiences throughout our life. The show today is about taking this passion for giving and giving you the tools to give it the right way. Here in the second half, we're going to cover a bunch of different things, but we're going to start with this basic question. And that basic question is this. Charity is an act of love. Wouldn't you love to know more ways to give? How do you feel about this topic, Jeff? And are you ready to go here in the second half?
I think it's fantastic because you've got in your heart, this is something I want to give to, but how do I do it? What money do I use to take care of it? And so what we're going to talk about in this segment is all the different ways that we can give and get the advantage of any tax advantages that we can get from that, charitable deductions, things like that. We talked about the standard deduction being so high that it's hard to give enough in any one year to meet that and to itemize your deductions for charitable giving. So we're going to talk about some other ways to give, to accomplish what your goals are through different processes. And we'll kind of walk through them one at a time. So I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's good, Jeff. I wanted to cover one quick thing on the standard deduction that I have not covered yet, and that's this. Sometimes you want to group your charitable deductions into 1 year. So let's say that you're near the level to go itemized, but not quite enough. But if you combine your charity all into 1 year, let's say you look at a 2-year period and you combine them into 1 year rather than spread them out over two, what you might end up being might have enough money to reach the next level to actually get more deduction. So grouping some charitable deductions together, making them all at once, could be something that really helps you on your tax returns. Then that's something to look at. All right, Jeff, first topic would be the concept of giving appreciated stock. Whenever the stock market rises and you have a stock you might have owned a long time, what is it giving, how, and what is giving appreciated stock?
So if you own a stock in a regular taxable account, it could be a joint account or a trust or what have you, and you've had it for a long time and it's gone up a lot in value, you might think, well, I want to give money to charity, but if I sell my stock, I'm going to have to pay tax on the capital gain. And so what you can do is actually give the stock directly to the charity. Don't sell it. Just give however much of it you want directly to the charity. When you do that, you get a tax deduction for the amount that you gave to the charity, whatever the value was on the day that you gave it, and you don't have to pay tax on the capital gain because you didn't sell it. Then the charity has it, and they can sell the stock to use for whatever the purpose is, whatever it's needed for, but because they're a charity, they don't pay a tax on the capital gain either. Now, this is something to keep in mind. You might think, oh, I want to give some stock to my kids. Well, you're allowed to gift stock directly to kids, and you don't pay tax on the capital gain, but that child will inherit your cost basis, so when they sell the stock, they will pay a tax on the capital gain. But when you give it to charity, because the charity doesn't pay tax, you get to do it without having a tax on that capital gain. It's a great way. We've seen it used several times throughout the years where folks want to give something, and we'll set up an account for the charity to receive it, then we'll sell it and give the cash to the charity and get it taken care of that way. So it's a wonderful tool, and it works when you have, again, that stock in an individual or joint account, something like that, that's going to be taxable. Now, another one, Brian, another way that we were going to talk about was using cash value life insurance. So I was going to let you talk about that one, unless you want to do more about appreciated stock.
I want to talk more about stock for a second. I've had a number of cases like this where we work on the stock, and the process of doing it is you have to contact the charity. That charity has to provide information. Typically, they'll have a stockbroker involved. That stockbroker will have to provide the information about the account to give it to. So imagine that the day you give the stock, the value of the stock that day is what you take off your taxes. So that is a very important piece when it comes to how do you give appreciated stock. So whatever stock it is, the day you give, it transfers over, that's the day that you get your deduction. Typically, that charity will write a letter to you confirming that you gave stock. They'll also say this is the value on the day we received it, and that's like a receipt that you use for your taxes. So the concept of appreciated stock, I think it's a lot better than giving out of your checkbook. Imagine now your checkbook, you already paid your taxes, and in most cases you can't take the deduction anymore because of standard deduction limitations. And so what happens here is by giving stock that's up, this is stock that's in a personal account, you would do it that way. By giving that stock, you avoided the capital gain. So you avoided, and basically cut Uncle Sam out of that tax of that stock. Because when we have IRAs and stock and you grow it, what we got to do is you make that money do what you want. What are your goals? What is your purpose in life? And that's what happens when it comes to, do we want to give a little bit of stock away or a lot of stock away? There's all kinds of ideas. We are just covering appreciated stock at the moment. The more sophisticated concept is where you want to give away something but also retain some type of income stream for life because you're a little nervous about the future. There are ways to do that. That's called a charitable remainder unit trust, which we're not covering today because that's a very complex subject. But this concept there is basically I want to give something, but I want to get some income back. So there are some techniques for that. All right, Jeff, now I'm going to talk about the cash value life insurance. Lots of people have a life insurance policy their parents bought them many, many years ago. I don't really know how many years ago, but it was many years ago. And so that you have this older policy. Let's use an example that the death benefit's $5,000, the cash value is $3,000, and you no longer need that death benefit. So there's a couple of different ways to look at this cash value life insurance. The cash value being $3,000, the opportunity there is if you give that $3,000, if you give the policy to a charity, they can keep the policy. You get a deduction for the cash value, $3,000, and if they hold the policy until you pass away, they'll get $5,000 when you pass away. The other way of doing it is you could make the beneficiary the charity at the death benefit would be $5,000 to them. You do not get a deduction when you make it the beneficiary. You get a deduction if you make them the owner. It's just a key thing on the cash value life insurance.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next one. Brian mentioned earlier about if you do all of your giving in 1 year and then you'll have enough to itemize your deductions, as opposed to giving the same amount over a couple of different years. Or there's a strategy called donor-advised funds. And with the donor-advised fund, you do have to have a sponsoring organization that holds the money, but you can give to this donor-advised fund an amount that might cover 2 years worth of your giving, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever you're able to give to it, and you get that deduction all in 1 year. But inside that donor-advised fund, the money is held, it can be invested, it can continue to grow, and you can give donations out of it directly to charities. It does have to go to charities when it comes out of the donor-advised fund. Now, in the name, it says donor-advised. When you put the money into the donor-advised fund, you're giving up legal ownership of it. But it is advised by you, so most of those sponsoring organizations, they're going to have something worked out, so you can tell them, I want you to give this much to this charity at this time, and they'll do that. Now, you got the deduction for your contribution when you put the money into the donor-advised fund, but then the next year, the year after that, or even years down the road, the money can actually go to the charities that you want to sponsor. So using a donor-advised fund is a way to kind of group your charitable giving into 1 year so that you can itemize your deductions in that year. And then you can give from that donor-advised fund to the various charities that you want to support. One other interesting thing about donor-advised funds is you can make anonymous donations to charities from a donor-advised fund. If you write a check to a charity, well, they know who it's from. But when you write a check to the donor-advised fund and then the donor-advised fund sends it to the charity, you can tell them that you can tell the donor-advised fund organization that you don't want them to know. You want it to be anonymous. So it is a way to do some anonymous giving, and it's also a way to group your charitable donations into 1 year.
When it comes to donor-advised funds, have you seen a minimum that people could do?
I did not see a minimum to put into it, but from a tax standpoint, it's just going to make sense that you're trying to get that tax deduction. So you're going to want to put in, if you're a married couple, over $25,000 most likely into a donor-advised fund.
Well, you can do less if you have other deductions. Like if you have a house, you could do 15. If you have other deductions, maybe you have 5. But the more you put into it in a year, the more deduction you get off your taxes. But so basically, these donor-advised funds are typically done through mutual fund families. These donor-advised funds, you can make larger gifts, and then they drip out the payments over time. And that's how you can support on a regular basis and take deductions in groups, which is one of the concepts we think works very, very well. Now, at Acres Financial Group, we do have a show called Winning Retirement, and it's about retirement. Charitable giving is about you and your planning and your legacy and everything that goes on in your life that you want to benefit. So basically, some people, when they want to do their retirement plan, they say, I want to run out of money on the day that I pass away. I don't have a desire to give any more money to my kids. I've set it all up. Now, in retirement planning, it has to be individualized. It has to be designed for you, because retirement is for you. It's about getting your time back. It's about being able to enjoy the time that you have when it comes to no longer working. You don't have that pressure, that all those times. One of my clients told me this week that the best thing about retirement is that he sleeps better on Sunday nights. I think that's a great concept. You can begin sleeping better in your retirement by calling us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN, WINRETIRE. When you call, leave a voice message, and Susan will call you back on Monday to schedule a meeting with one of our team of advisors. Give us a call, 833-946-7384, or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Don't let Uncle Sam be one of your beneficiaries. We will explain in the fourth quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers. Here with me today is Jeff Akers. We're both certified financial planner practitioners from Akers Financial Group. Today's show is called Charitable Giving the Right Way. Charitable giving the right way begins with a desire in your heart to give. This desire is to have an impact on the world around us. Giving is a byproduct of the experiences in your life. The show today is about taking this passion for giving and giving you the tools to give the right way. This show, just like all of our shows, is available on our website, AkersFinancialGroup.com. If you go on your phone and you look on and you bring up the opening piece of our website, you'll see that there's a radio tab. The radio tab, you click that. In there, you'll see our past shows. This show will be on that website by the middle of next week for you to listen to different parts of it, hear it again. You also are very encouraged to give us a call to be able to sit down with you and your family to talk about your wishes in retirement planning, charitable gift planning, whatever it takes when it comes to meeting your financial goals. We are all unique in what we do, but we recommend that you take a look at Akers Financial Group and see what we're doing up there. What you also want to do is check out our webinars. Our webinars, we have a lot of interesting topics that we've been doing over the last year, and they've created a library of those topics for you to look at and view. All it is a simple sign in, and then you get to watch the videos that we put together. We're taking this radio show and turning it into a webinar. It should be on the website within the next 2 weeks. All right, so check out AkersFinancialGroup.com. All right, Jeff, the fourth quarter is here. This is when it's time to win the game, you know. You got to finish in the fourth quarter. The question I have for you is this, is we don't want to let Uncle Sam be one of your beneficiaries. So what do you think we mean by that concept?
Well, there's two things. When we pass away and we leave assets to our heirs, let's say it's an IRA as an example, then when they take the money out, they're going to have to pay tax on that. And so Uncle Sam is also a beneficiary of that account. If your estate is large enough, then you'll also be subject to an estate tax. And so that's another way that Uncle Sam can be a beneficiary of your hard work for all those years. So we want to look at ways that we can minimize the amount that goes to Uncle Sam, maybe even eliminate, depending on how we set things up, so that as much money as possible goes to the folks you want it to go to, which includes your family and includes charities. Brian's example in the second quarter about the fellow who wanted to give it all away did a great job, because what he gave to family was Roth IRA money, which is not taxed. They don't have to pay tax on that. And the stuff that would have been taxable, he actually gave away to charities. And so the charities got the full benefit of it because there didn't have to be a tax coming out of it before that. So there are several planning tools that we can use to get into this. We won't be able to go super far into the weeds. It's a complex situation. You'll want to talk to a financial advisor. Give us a call and we can go through the ways this works with you. But there are several different tools out there that we're going to talk about in this segment.
Yeah, there's a lot going on when it comes to what you just described. I guess one question, Jeff, is what is your first step in this whole process?
Well, it's hard to pick a first step.
Yeah.
Your heart is one that you mentioned before, and then you have to have a plan. So that step of planning what you're going to do can make all the difference. If you don't plan, or if the plan is poor, then you end up paying taxes and the charities get less than they could have otherwise. So we want to have a plan in place to maximize our giving.
Yeah, it makes me think about this one client, this couple. The husband was selling his company to be able to retire. And whenever you sell something, if you sell it and you take all the gain in 1 year, you have a very sizable tax bill. And one of their goals was to set up some type of foundation for charity that would be ongoing, that would then be able to pay out, let's say $500 a month to different people. And so basically we created their own foundation, their own charity for the couple. By doing a lump sum into this new foundation we set up, we use a lawyer and a CPA to set up the foundation, made it a 501c3. We went through all that paperwork, and then they took the large deduction. And then over the last, let's say, 8 to 10 years, I've been managing that money and paying out so much a month to all the different people that this foundation that supports. So we took the goal. We took the year when they had a high taxable year to take the high charitable deduction and then created an ongoing entity called a foundation, a 501c3. Yes, larger sums of money should be used if you do something like this. It's not for very small amounts. Now, you might have heard of things called endowment funds. Now, I've been on the board of a few and been like the head of a couple endowment funds. But the idea is, when you think about endowment funds, many times they're run by the charity themselves, where you can contact your charity and you can say, can I set up a sub-account, a sub-endowment fund? Or maybe you, let's use one example. Let's say you have a favorite basketball team, college basketball team, and you want to give towards that program. I had a client do this, and you can call and set up a little scholarship fund, and the money goes in there, and it helps support that kind of group. So there's lots of thoughts, lots of ideas. Where your heart is, it leads to being able to follow through with some concepts like this.
Right. So now there are tools, and again, we're not going to get into all these today, but there are things where you can give something to a charitable entity, and they'll actually send you income while you're alive, but then when you pass away, that lump sum goes to whatever the charity is. We talked about that a little bit when Brian gave his example in the second quarter. There are also some that you might put money into it, and it's going to send income to the charity while you're alive, but then when you pass away, that remainder can go, or after the time is up, I should say. It's not necessarily when you pass away. That money can come back to your family or even to you. But there are a lot of different tools out there that we can use.
One of the interesting things is an estate plan that cuts out the IRS or cuts out Uncle Sam. What we mean by that is this: we all want to give money to our family and to charities, and if we could make the IRS not a beneficiary, it'd be great. Now, how would somebody do that? Well, through the use of life insurance and a concept called wealth replacement trust, we can create money that would go to the family tax-free and be sent to them. And then we give a large portion of the other part of the estate to charities that you want. This concepts have been used by the Forbes family and many other people to design legacies to keep wealth within a family. But that's just a quick concept of how to have a basically cutting taxes out completely when you talk about giving money. So there's lots and lots of ideas of being able to give the charity the right way. Today's show is about charitable giving the right way, and we've given you some tools. Some of those tools we've talked about are how you set up your estate plan, how you use a QCD with your IRAs once you're over 70 and a half. You can also use that on your beneficiary IRAs. We talked about appreciated stock giving. We talked about charitable gift annuities. We talked a little bit about a foundation, wealth replacement trust, charitable remainder trusts. We've hit a lot of topics, right, Jeff? You okay, Jeff? So
yes,
with all these topics? What?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of different acronyms and all kinds of stuff that goes into it. But that's where it's important to sit down and talk with a financial advisor and just work out that plan to understand which one works best for you.
Absolutely. So when it comes back down to charitable giving, a lot of people write a check every Sunday. They put a charity in their will. They just list the charity. We want people to rethink that way of just giving. Sometimes it's better to use a different checkbook instead of your regular checkbook. Use your IRA checkbook, especially if you're retired. If you're going to give out of your will or trust, consider giving money that would have been taxable to your family. Give that to the charity and give the other money to the family. So use the whole plan, the whole purpose, and try to reduce the amount of taxes that you pay overall through proper planning. Very important.
Yes, it is. And we've talked over and over about your unique financial fingerprint. Your financial situation is unique. Your heart is unique. What you want to support and give to and what legacy you want to build is unique just to you. So we kind of go back to what Jesus said, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So think about, what are those things that are important? That's where we want to put our treasure. and your heart will grow towards those things, and it'll create a legacy, something that lasts beyond you. Even after you're gone, you're still helping to support something that you found important.
I think that giving should be something you do throughout your lifetime. You don't wait till you have made it to then give. What you should do is begin giving right away. Give something, give small, give a piece. You might not be able to use any of these techniques right away, but what you could do is begin to think about your paycheck. Think about what you should be doing and giving and saving, and then spend the rest. As Americans, we're good at spending all the rest. What we got to do is pay things first. Now, there's a concept called pay yourself first. Our answer is we think pay back to God first. Give first, then pay yourself second, and you're always going to spend the rest. So at Acres Financial Group, we are built to be financial advisors for you and your family. We help people win in retirement because we have the full plan working. That full plan is designed for you and your family. You would love to sit down and talk with us. We know people want to talk about these topics. We know that people want a free meeting, and that's why we offer a free opportunity to sit down with one of our team of advisors and go over what is going on in your family. What would you like to do with the money that you've been blessed with? Give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and Susan will call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, virtual Zoom, or an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement and charitable giving now by give us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group is a registered representative offering securities through Kalos Capital Incorporated and investment advisory services through Kalos Management Incorporated. Akers Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Kalos Capital or Kalos Management and does not provide tax and legal services. Advice given on Winning in Retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment.